So welcome everybody. This is our first episode. It is a pleasure to be sitting here alongside Demmetrius Knowles. This gentleman, him and I actually got some pretty similar backgrounds, very similar backgrounds. We've lived in Homestead just about all our lives, and we've had similar journeys, even though it's different industries,
Right.
but kind of where we've become entrepreneurs. We've had to learn to navigate how to be successful through ups and downs. So I wanted this first episode to just kind of get to know you a little bit. You've been my boy for a long time. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you. But a lot of people don't know some of the things that you may have had to gone through in your life and how you've become successful because I know you as the authorized dealer, AT&T,
Right.
and you provide a great service to this community. But to get to know a little bit about the man behind the entrepreneur, tell us a little bit about your family, your upbringing, and what brought you to Homestead and how you got started.
Well, true. I mean, Andrew, from the time Andrew is around, I came here with Andrew and um, started you know in Homestead.
Yeah,
And obviously, my time here has been nothing but an experience because coming from the islands and on the out islands, Eleuthera, the Bahamas comes with many islands, and there's quite a few of them out there. And I'm from Eleuthera, and I was born in Nassau. Came here and settled down with my wife and had a son. Now he's 24. He's an engineer
professional
now.
son,
Yeah, professional
professional.
now. He's 24 now, just like that overnight. And then my career itself, I took the path of hard work
Yeah,
and work through the channels. Work through the channels with telecommunication. I'm an authorized retailer now for AT&T. I mean, we have 6 offices, and now it's the goal was to scale to 10.
yeah.
Then kind of branch off. So I'm happy to be a part of the podcast. I mean, this is our first. Talk Visual is a thing that we can definitely put our ears to the street and
Yeah.
talk a little more about what we got going on. So my extensive stories, my background is I'm a Bahamian American now, and I've been here from almost, I'm sure, over 30 years, and I'm happy and proud and to be an American or Bahamian American. Um, one son. My passion is traveling.
Traveling. You do a lot of cruises.
Oh man!
Every time I see your Instagram, you're on another cruise, man.
I'm loyal to Royal, as they say. I mean, they don't pay me to say that, but I am loyal. I'm a diamond member with them for almost 20 something years. So it takes a lot to scale up to the next
Yeah.
level. But I'm happy.
Now, for those young entrepreneurs that are getting started, they probably won't be doing cruises, right out the gate, right?
No,
but it took a while for you to get the liberty
yeah.
and to get the flexibility to do cruises the way you do them now. So at the beginning, the grind, what was that like? Were you here during Andrew? Were you during the storm?
After the storm hit the Bahamas,
Okay.
the family was construction. We came in the construction field, and that's how I got across this side, and we kind of helped build back, so many places, and then I scaled into the mall and fell in love with technology, and
Yeah.
that wrote the note to where I am today. Started off as a sales associate and worked my way through the ranks into ownership.
Good.
But overall, it's been an interesting journey for those who are coming up. For the first 5 to 7 years, we work 7 days a week.
You work every day. There is no holidays.
No,
There's no weekends.
No, what is that? That wasn't a thing back then. You put in the work, so it was based around customer service.
Yeah.
My motto was just giving great service and customer service back to you, and I still stand by that. I think I'm one of probably 2 or 3 guys that's still left in the business.
Yeah.
Customer service is what we built it on. So as far as the hustle and grind, most people don't see the making of the pudding, right?
Right.
They just see the end result. So we had to grind 7 days a week. We didn't care about whether it's a Saturday or Sunday. We were open every day, and it paid off.
And there's a local store here?
Yes. We have 2 offices in Homestead. In fact, we started on US 1 over there by the old Chamber Center.
Yeah.
US 1 there on the corner of US 1 and Campbell Drive there.
Yeah.
We started off over there. That's where the first offices were back in 2000.
Yeah, right around the time, because
Yeah.
my family had the Quiznos. You were right in the same building.
Yeah.
That's where we initially met.
Yeah.
And it was a lot different back then. But customer service, I think, is what's lacking
Right.
in today's commerce.
Yeah.
You walk in somewhere, you want some help with all the digital stuff going on, and people are just expecting you to know
Yeah.
exactly how to do certain things. And I guess that's why people like Apple products.
Right.
They're kind of easy to use.
Right.
But you made it a point to truly hold people's hands and help them understand
Right.
whatever device they were getting or whatever service you were providing.
Right. I mean, back then, we used to program phones manually.
Right.
I set up a museum and I'll bring it by. Some of the devices, the brick phones, the ultra classics and the classics, those old clunkers, the
Yeah.
brick, they were used for many things. And obviously back then we had to manually program. There was 50 cents a minute to make phone calls.
Okay.
So,
Whoa.
or having a beeper. So today the kids don't know what the 143, means with the beeper when you used to turn them off and on when you wanted to be cool with the girls, and they
And the
went off.
911s.
911. That's the get home mode. And I grew up in an era where when the street light went out,
Yeah.
you had to go home. But normally your family allowed you to roam until the street light was about to cut on. So in the islands, I wouldn't have changed it for anything given the circumstances of today. I would have, loved to have my son kind of pulled back and raised in that type of
Yeah.
island vibe mentality. But
So
here we are.
did your son also think about maybe at one point, getting into the family business?
Because he was raised in it, he seemed to have ran as far as he can. The technology, he utilizes technology, but definitely don't want anything to do with it. He's in a different space now. He chose engineering, and he fought that battle with engineering. He's now in ocean engineering, so now he's venturing into that and trying to branch off and to do his own thing. He's into the ROV and drone stuff now.
Okay,
So he's
good.
creating a business for that.
Good.
So that is me. And so, what about you?
Well, first I want to give you a shout out, you and your wife, for raising such an amazing son.
Thank you.
Who has went off to do some really interesting stuff, and I'm sure he's got an extremely bright future ahead of him. Me, very similar to you. We came from Jersey. Dominicans always go to New York. They go to New York or New Jersey, and we were there for some time. And my mom, she suffers from asthma, so she needed to get out of the cold.
Right.
So we came. My mom had a cousin who lived in Homestead. Because sometimes I ask them, I'm like, out of all places in Dade County, what was up? Why Homestead?
All roads.
And at that time, the houses were like $35,000. So we were fortunate enough to, shortly after we got here, they bought a house. And we've been, my parents raised us in Leisure City, Homestead Leisure City. We've been there. I've been here 45 years. 45 years. So I can say I'm kind of like a homegrown from Homestead.
That's right.
So my journey, I didn't like paying rent, and I told my mom one day at the restaurant we were at, I said, why do we got to pay so much in rent? She's like, well, if you ever want to own your own shopping center, you got to get into real estate. So I got into real estate, and, it's been just like you, where you don't have any weekends, you're doing open houses, you're showing everybody you can show a house to, just so that you can start understanding, how to truly be a good salesperson. Because if you're not in sales, you got to quickly learn if you're going to survive in this business. And the key to real estate was learning how to become a listing agent. How do you get a seller to say, hey, Julio, I've got 3 people coming after you, 3 other agents. One's from Keller Williams, one's from Century 21, and one is from Kai's. Why should I give you this property? And learning how to, market yourself that's going to add value and that's going to ultimately sell the house in the shortest amount of time period at the highest price. That's what I had to learn to do. So I became a student of real estate. I'd go to seminars, I would go to conferences, and I would just try to absorb as much as I could. And you start picking out little things that you can apply to your everyday life. And I started then to become a little bit better. But the first time, you get there, you're nervous, you're sweating, and it doesn't go that well. But with just like everything else, with practice, you start to get a little more comfortable in what you're doing. And now today I'm the leader, the broker of this office, and I've got about 65 agents that work here. And then you become a mentor,
right.
So it's kind of like you're passing the baton to the next generation of agents. And, I think it's a fulfilling thing for me because I don't think it feels like work.
Right.
So you get up in the morning.
That is what it's all
You get up in the morning, you got to go to work, and it's like, okay, I like doing this. I like not only helping people buy, sell, or rent, but also teaching new agents, the things that help me get to the position I'm in, so that they don't have to make those same mistakes. So now we're here. We're both in downtown Homestead. We've seen Homestead, struggle with businesses specifically. There's this narrative out there that Homestead is tough to do business with. I think that's starting to change a little bit, but it can't come fast enough because we'd really like to see
the changes.
we'd really like to see the changes happening now. We've both invested in downtown Homestead. Do you foresee, this becoming, a magnet, really great downtown like we see in some of the other parts of the county?
100%. I mean, Homestead has drastically changed, and it's funny because I asked the leasing manager the other day. Do you remember when I signed my lease? She says, yeah, about 5.5 years ago. And I'm like, 5.5 years. I have a 7-year lease.
Right.
When most persons tell me, what are you doing? Why would you consider going downtown Homestead? There's nothing there. Right. When they did pull the comps on the area, it's like there's nothing there other than a few commercial buildings, and that's really it, and the police station. Right. So it was one of those things that that you live close by, and you wanted to see, you wanted to put your flag down and say, I'm a part of the community, and wanted to make sure you hire locally. So I figured, you know what, it is downtown. You build it and they shall come. And 5 years later, we're still downtown. It's still developing. It's still getting better. And I still have faith that it will become one of the beacon. Yeah. Obviously downtown with Lawson's Park being revitalized, and the station that we're in, it's a beautiful station, and it could definitely use more persons that would consider. We have a few new tenants now. Right. The Cyberium is there, so a lot of people are seeing it. And the movie theater they're definitely investing some money to make sure that they kind of attract people. So we're all doing our part. Right. So with my staff there, I have about 6 employees at that office there, and we're still putting along. So we're enjoying it. So
those people that are in Homestead, if they wanted to go get some service from one of your stores, which is the store that has the best, well, you can get in and out, because you're always busy.
Right. I mean, if you live on this side of town, I mean, obviously there's two sides, right? They say US 1 was the great divider. So for this side of town, the downtown, you can just pull up and get curbside if you want to. Or you can simply just park in the plaza. It's safe. You park and you can come in. It's like any downtown. There is paid parking, but we do have some options available to you, so to get you in and out, and we can pre-vet you. So when you come in, the job is seamless for us. But most importantly is to remind you that service is available. A lot of times you walk into places. The one thing that's lacking from this generation is really the service element. That is what I focus on heavily. I agree. So I would like to see that. And to me, it's not work. I'm still on the floor. I'm still cleaning the windows in the restrooms and making sure everybody understands. They don't need to know that I carry the title, but how can I help you mindset? Right. That's really been the focus. Downtown, I foresee it in the next few years becoming a very, very good for business, good for family. Yeah. There's going to be a lot more things to come in downtown. I mean, stay tuned for that. I can see it.
Well, this show, I think, is going to help shed some light on downtown, because we'd love to see restaurants. We'd love to see cafes. We'd love to see, people outdoor dining, walking up and down Chrome Avenue. Right. And it may not be as prevalent now, but soon it will be. And hopefully we can attract some of these great restaurants to come, because if you haven't been to downtown, it's a really, really unique, nice, historic part of town. And I put this up against any of the other historic places in Florida. Right. Like St. Augustine. St. Augustine is beautiful, by the way. It's one of the nicest places I've been, but that's how passionate I feel about downtown Homestead. And I think we're on our way to becoming just as nice and just as beautiful as downtown St. Augustine.
We're definitely onto something, and being able to get in at the ground level of downtown considered, because it's just been historically, the revitalization of downtown. It's been helping a lot. They're beautifying it now. I mean, there's still some work to, some more work to do. I would love to see them put some more cafes down here, some more diversity in cafes, and to where everyone that comes downtown can find a local spot to grab a quick bite and go home, or go to the movies, or something more things for the kids to do.
So a message that I've got for the city of Homestead is we've got to attract We've got to attract people because you're a business guy. And when you were thinking about, opening a store in downtown, you start looking at demographics, you start looking at foot traffic, you start looking at how many people are going to be driving by. And if some of those metrics don't make any sense, you won't take the risk in spending money to come down here and open a store. And I know a lot of you don't know this, but AT&T and Demetrius' store, Van Cellier, was one of the only ones that were open during COVID.
That is correct.
And it was basically holding up the fort over there when nothing else was going on. So we definitely appreciate you going through that, and I know it wasn't easy.
No, COVID for me, I didn't lay anyone off. All of my stores stayed open during that time. I mean, I kept everyone at full pay. I didn't borrow any money against anything. I just simply held tight and kept service in mind because I knew what it would have been like to be home without your cell phone, so without this and without that, and we were able to hold tight and kept it together. And it seemed to, I hope the community recognized that in the future that, hey, there are some locals here that still believe in the good old fashioned handshake.
Right.
You shake a hand and says, hey, this man is good as his word.
That's right.
And that's what keeps me going. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Well, Demetrius, this is episode 1. We've got 1,000 more to do, right?
994. So this is one introducing ourselves to everyone to let them know Talk Rachel is alive and well now. And we're just simply just going to grow in all different directions. So we're going to have a lot more to discuss.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to know more about what we got going on, any questions you may have, I mean, simply these are only our experiences. So, please consult in the event that you have any particular questions.
Just real people having real conversations. And we're going to put out, a suggestion box. Is there anything in Homestead or anything else in the county that you guys want to talk about? Please let us know, like and subscribe, and we will be in touch next week, Wednesday, 9 a.m. Thank you. See you soon. Thank you, Demetrius. Appreciate you, brother.
All right.